Damn it! Over. Redeem yourself! Hi, I'm KB, and welcome back to Wolves on the Westwind. Don't ask me what part this is. It's been a month since I played this game. I just wrapped up spooky season. Well, I haven't just wrapped up spooky season. It's been about a week and a half since I wrapped up spooky season. Now I'm ready to dive back into this game and finish it. I'm not sure how much longer I have in this. Okay, continue, because that's loud. Dang. I'm at a point where you guys... I'm recording at a point where you haven't seen the last hour and a half that I've recorded. I recorded an hour and a half a month ago, or over a month ago, before I started getting ready for spooky season. And I just didn't have time to edit it and get it out once I moved on to something else. So here we are, jumping back in it. Gotta make sure I'm recording because I took a bit of a break. I can't remember where we are. All I remember is Dark Song made me mad. That's all I remember. She made me mad. We was in the woods with her. We made her mad. She made us mad. And then I remember being angry. No, I got somebody killed. I don't think I'm gonna do a very good job. However this is gonna end is just how it's gonna end. I don't think I'm gonna do a very good job though. On the eve before you set out to face the fiend, one more vision comes to you in your dreams, unlike any you've had before. Blessing in disguise. Start. We want to get a last minute buff like an anime. Your eyes flutter open and struggle to adjust to the dark twilight of the night. And if you hear a guitar or something in the background, my husband is having to appease my baby. They not doing well with me. They're being real attached. So, he's playing the guitar for him. Your eyes flutter open and struggle to adjust to the dark of twilight of the night. I'm scared. All is quiet inside the makeshift tent. You can't have been asleep for very long. You don't remember much past bringing Dark Song back to the Ottiskin and collapsing down on your bedroll. You don't feel tired, though. You feel strangely refreshed, though an aura of nervousness and fear still hangs heavy over you. As you look at those breathing quietly around you, the strangest sensation comes over you. You never used to remember your dreams, but the arrival of the fiend in your life changed that. Night after night after night on your journey back into Thorwall from Nostria, it has been the same. So it is odd now to feel the memory of whatever you had seen in your most recent dream slip away from you. It is an unexpected return to normality right at the end. Rubbing your eyes, you take a sharp breath in, already wondering whether you might be able to get back to sleep. But a distinct smell catches in your nose. The charcoal sting of smoke. All of your senses whir into action at once as you take another deeper breath of it in. Your heart and mind race as you scramble onto your feet, pushing your way out of the tent quickly. And you immediately stagger to a halt as you see the world around you. Okay, come on now, stop putting us in this... Everything on fire and everything's terrible. Stop putting us in this. Not the beach, not even the Thorwallian shore. Your heart skips a beat as you see the burning buildings all around you. As your lungs are grasped by the soot and ash, and your skin roils at the heat of the flames. Windhaven. The fiend has caught you in its grasp again. You are certain of it. This time, with no hint of its coming. Just to twist a dagger deep into your soul, to prove that you really do not stand a chance at all. But that's not what the chapter said. The chapter said something different. Okay, nothing? No. No, that's wrong. Wait, that's wrong. You aren't sure how you know. It doesn't feel the same as it has before. Not in the subtle way it felt at the end of the raid. This feels completely different. Are you just dreaming about this on your own? You feel at peace in this place of chaos and destruction, as if a hole in your heart has been magically refilled. This isn't the fiend. This is something else. Outlander. You aren't aware that she was there, but you see Estrid in the corner of your eye and turn to face her. She looks as confused as you now feel, realizing that whatever this is, it is some new menace. Oh, so they're both, like, there and conscious that they're each there. That's wild. Any ideas? I thought I was awake. We're alright. We're alright. We're alright, are we? It feels strange to feel so at peace in a place like this. Yes. Estrid is already looking around with suspicion and confusion, her hand resting on her chest uncomfortably. I don't know how to describe it. It is not as loud as it was the last time the fiend brought you here. You hear the cackling fires and you smell the ash on the air, but now you are out of the tent. The smell is not as strong as it was before, and the sound is strangely muted. Maybe it's because they're more aware that they're... Well, no, they're aware that they were dreaming, like, last time, but maybe they have more control of themselves. Like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm trying to put logic to this. That is not how that works. Quiet enough for you to hear a whisper past your ear, away from the street you find yourselves on. And away past the burning houses, you hear the echo of cheers and cries. You and Estrid both look at each other after the whisper and the echo have faded. You both feel the urge to walk that way, pulling you towards the sound that is no longer there. With a nod, you make your way forwards, already hazarding a guess for where exactly the road may lead you. You are spot on. It does not take much time to realize you are following the same steps you took towards the carnage of your last visit. Now you feel fear creeping up on you as well, as the thought of what you might find there, but stepping into the square does not bring with it the same heart-wrenching moment it did before. Indeed, to your surprise, only one person has stood there waiting for you. Okay. The Blessed One, that Olver beat and tortured to death in front of you, his hands bound as they were before. Okay, he got something to tell us? He brought us back? He got something to tell us? He's gonna give us a Kamehameha? He expects you... Oh, no, the Spirit Bomb. He's gonna give us a Spirit Bomb. I don't know why I got Dragon Ball Z on the brain. He expects you to come from the direction you do, already looking at you, even before your eyes meet. And his eyes follow you as you continue on the same path as last time, around the outside of the square. As if to give the phantom of Olver, who isn't even there, the same wide berth you gave him before. Reading. You see a calm, friendly smile cross his lips as he looks away from you, though you still feel as if his eyes are on you. Hello, Estrid Ulfric's daughter. And you, Nadim Saba Shtadir. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You are so out of sorts that for a long moment you cannot bring yourself to speak. You shake your head and try to reformulate your thoughts and questions. What is this? What is this? Once again, his eyes fall upon you, and you feel yourself wilting slightly. It isn't uncomfortable or fear-inducing. In fact, quite the opposite. You feel calm and relaxed, more so than in what feels like a lifetime. It is a dream of sorts. The simplicity of his answer catches you off guard. You glance at Estrid, who is looking nervously at you as well. She tenses up as she glances back over to the figment and calls over the flames. Who are you? The Blessed One seems to struggle with that question, cocking his head as he ponders on it for a small while. Eventually, he looks at you both and shakes his head. I have no name, as you know them. I am an ideal. Peace, I think you would call it. Though it means many things to me. I am a servant of Travia, and I'm sent to you now to talk before the end. Oh, we gonna die. We gonna die? Why we gotta have a talk before the end? Fate has bound you to the creature you now face. As he speaks, you only seem to become more and more at one in this terrible place. With the fire still blazing around you, you feel as though you are at home. Truly at home. Into Pentagram Academy of Rochdale, before it became so apparent that one way or another you could not stay. One look at Estrid tells you she has been affected just as much. An understanding has come across her face that you recognize. It is the same expression she has whenever you caught her staring off into the western horizon. When last Travia looked upon this place, a man who had struggled for many winters finally fell. Olver Eriksson. In that moment, she hoped his resolve would be strongest. He failed, and he has suffered for it ever since. There is very little hope for him now. We do not know all of what lies ahead of you, but we know that your fate does not have to be the same as Olver's. Oh, thank God. Ooh, thank God. That's good news. That's good news. I ain't had much faith in Olver, I'm gonna be honest. They got faith in us. Not just because we abandoned him. Not if you have realized what he could have done. Estrid's demeanor changes entirely as he speaks, and she ends up lifting both hands to her mouth in silent surprise. You stumble over the words, which all make sense on their own, but take a moment to add up together. You look at the blessed one standing before you. There is nothing special about him, nothing divine. He is just a man, his hands bound by thick, heavy rope, who you have just seen once before, in a vision of the fiend beaten and tortured to death by Oliver. And yet his words are as if spoken by a divine power. I mean, this is going to be a terrible, terrible comparison, but the movie Contact where the alien came to What's-Her-Face as her dad and was like, if I showed you what I really look like, it would be awful. That's what I'm getting from this. It's just something that's like slightly familiar to them that they could... I'm gonna move on. And this feels honest, needing no proof or validation. You are one of the celestial family. You aren't certain in the moment whether that is a term you have heard before. Is it a group of lesser divinities? Ones that serve Travia specifically? You like, let me know, I don't know nothing about it. The being nods gently but says nothing, leaving you both to process it all alone. Will you help us? Will you help us? I need help. Help! Will you help us? I would like to. A moment passes between the three of you, where all you hear is the dull roar of the flames. Attention cuts into the peace and comfort as if to remind you of how important an event this is. Oliver Erickson spent much of his life watching those around him, listening to them, letting them set expectations for his life. That is how he thought he would garner respect. A very Thorwaldian thing. But he became obsessed by it. He came to believe that he always needed more respect, admiration from his allies, and fear from his enemies. But that was not his failing. That was not realizing that in trying so desperately to garner the respect of others, he might lose his own. But this creature did not just find Oliver, it also found you. So, is this confirming that Oliver brought this to the hall when we was drinking and partying? Because we didn't have no problems till he showed up. It's making me think like I was correct in the assumption that he brought heat. The messenger slowly turns to Estrid and holds her in his gaze. And so, I must ask you, what was your feeling? You swallow down your nerves, the question taking you a little by surprise. It is, of course, meant for Estrid, and you look across to her. There's little you can do except wait for a response. She seems lost in thought. You can't blame her. It's a big question. You think about your own experience, everything the fiend has shown you, everything you know about how it hunts. You think there probably is something to the Blessed One's words. Your dismissal from the academy may not have been fair, but have you let it hold you back more than you thought? Have you let the anger and pain of it sit inside you for too long without focus or attention? Without turning it into something you can use to move forwards, to move on? Your thoughts turn back to Estrid and you find yourself hoping that she is thinking along the same lines. Now, I tell people this a lot. Like, you can't change other people. You can't always control a situation, but you can control how you would respond to something, and you can always work on how you feel about something. You may not be able to, like, completely control how you feel about it, but you can work on it, you know, you can work to be better. But if you only act on that initial reaction or that initial feeling to something, and then you don't work on it, like, it mess with you. It mess with you, and it's not an easy process depending on the situation. Sometimes stuff take a long time. Sometimes it takes years. But the whole point being was like, you still have to take action. And I think that's what this is getting at. But if she looked lost before, she just looks gone now. It's just like, I don't know. There is nothing behind her eyes, just a hazy stare. And that worries you. What's happening? Yeah. You do something I thought this was a positive thing was happening. You turn to the Blessed One, who you think would know, if anyone would. The Blessed One only stares at Estrid, patiently awaiting her answer. But your speaking seems to have woken her from her trance, and she shakes her head. I'm sorry. There was something. She seems to lose her thread of thought and shakes her head again. Now she turns to the Blessed One again, as if nothing has happened. None of this is our fault. We didn't ask for any of this, and we are certainly not like Oliver. There is a noticeable difference in her voice as she confronts the Avatar. She is angry, frustrated, and annoyed, yes, but there is something underneath it, all of that, too. Something very un-Estrid-like. Something you definitely never heard before. And you're far too late to help us. Where were you when this started, when we really could have used your help? And at that, your heart leaps in your chest, racing as panic and horror washes over you. You can understand the anger and frustration after everything you've been through, but this is Estrid, snapping and shouting accusations at a celestial being. This isn't Estrid. This isn't Estrid. It isn't Estrid. You fervently shake your head at the celestial, who you hope will not be offended by the outburst. Estrid, yes it is. As you watch, another change comes across her. A fearsome determination which frightens you to no end. You look on as she nods her head in agreement with something that hasn't been spoken. I haven't failed. I never asked to be my father's favorite heir. I never asked to be het woman after him. I only ever wanted my own life. You are speechless. You can only stand and gape in utter shock and confusion, unable to even move. But as Estrid stares at the Blessed One, there is one more change that frightens you. The smallest of slight smirks, challenging, spiteful, and victorious. It is only there for the briefest of moments before it is washed away and replaced by that same determination. You finally look to the Blessed One to see what he has made of this madness. His head hangs in shame, and he is no longer able to look at your companion. Your eyes flick back to Estrid. Whatever had come over her has faded. You see it. You see her. You see the determination and frustration vanish, replaced with an instant blind panic. But the damage is done. Without looking at Estrid, the Blessed One speaks again. Do not think I do not see the shadow on your heart. It will cost you, not just once, but for the rest of your life. There is nothing either I or Travia herself can do for you now. As if they were never bound at all, he lifts his hands and the ropes fall limply away from them. Estrid is breathing heavily, looking around as if she has woken up from a terrible nightmare. But the Blessed One makes his way over to you. His hands open in front of him like he's making an offering. The demon's tooth appears in his open palms, and he stops when it is within easy reach of you. The task now falls to you. I sincerely hope you succeed. In the corner of your eye, you see Estrid scrambling about, trying to make sense of what just came over her. I'm assuming that's got something to do with the thing that happened back in the cave. So she's like, I guess she marked. She ain't gonna be of no use because she marked or something. I'm gonna just assume it's attested to my failure at playing the game correctly. But most of your attention is on the demon's tooth being offered up, much like a consolation prize. Slowly resigned more than anything else, you reach up to take it from the avatar. The moment your fingers clasp at the dry bone and strangely cold metal, you feel a pull inside your chest. There is a blinding white light that stuns your eyes and a whooshing sound that makes your ears ring. You are thrown back out of the square, out of Windhaven, out of Aventuria, off the face of the very world itself, and out into the inky cold void. This time your eyes flash open, and instinctually you shoot up so that you're sitting on your bedroll. The world around you is dim, quiet, twilight. Those you share a tent with breathe softly, undisturbed by your sudden awakening. All except Estrid, who is sat up as well. She glances at you, her expression unreadable in the darkness, and quietly she gets up, pushing her way out of the makeshift tent and onto the outside world. You follow as quickly as you can, carefully trying to tread so you don't wake those around you. You are glad to step out onto the beach, surrounded by the safety of the Oxkiskin camp. The night breeze is gentle, but bitingly cold, and the sky is mostly clear. It's early, not quite dawn, but light is already beginning to seep into the sky. Everything is a gray haze, including Estrid, who is pacing in the open center of the camp, rubbing warmth into her hands. The moment she sees you, she races forwards, her arms and hands outstretched towards you desperately. I am so sorry, Outlander. I don't know what came over me. Are you good? Are you alright? Am I gonna have to, watch you out the corner of my eye now? Cause a little bit suspect? Estrid looks down at herself and then looks around the camp nervously and back down at herself again. I'm alright now. I think she squeezes her eyes shut, but as if that isn't enough, she then balls her fist over them. She breathes in sharply, swallows, and opens her eyes again, letting her arms drop to her sides. I'm sorry. It's all so unclear now. It was like a shadow came over me, and that changed what I wanted to say. It wasn't me. Not completely. It just all made so much sense until the shadow passed. And then I knew what I had said was wrong. You were possessed. Was it the fiend? You know what it means. You know what it means? I don't think it was the fiend. You know what it means, though, don't you? You had the chance to receive Travia's blessing. Why throw that away? Why did this have to happen now, right before we face the fiend? I wish I could say, Outlander, I do. For a long moment, you wait while Estrid tries to make sense of it all for herself. You play it back in your own mind, too. The sudden change in her demeanor, the ferocity of it, and the sudden change back while you were being given the demon's tooth. Strangely, you find it lining up with what Estrid is telling you now. All of a sudden, she clicks her fingers and looks at you wildly. There was a thought I had while it was happening, very briefly. Do you remember how we got the demon's tooth? Yeah, the little spooky dude in the cave. I made a pact with that voice in the darkness. I cannot be sure, but I think it must have something to do with that. It must do. You must know by now I would never do that on my own accord. But it gave you the tooth. Can you fix it? Can you fix it? Can you fix it? Whatever it is that you have just broken. Wait, whatever it is that you have just broken. Will you get the chance? Estrid shrugs meekly. I do not know. Maybe I am now on the same path as Oliver. Maybe I am doomed. You fall into an uncomfortable silence, unsure what it all means for the future, and if you really understand any of it. Estrid looks horrified. It is clear that, for her, something has changed that cannot be undone. After some time, she strides past you, back towards the tent. She comes back a few moments later, cradling her pack, and throws it down gently at your feet as she walks past. You'll find the tooth in there. If I'm right, you should be able to use it now. Carefully, you pick the pack up, rummaging through it until your fingers finds the demon's tooth. You know it, before you even see that is what you have caught in your hand. It shoots a tingling sensation up your arm that seems to dissipate into the rest of your body. It's not strange or uncomfortable. In fact, it feels like something has returned to you after being missing for a long time, like an echo of the feeling of wholeness and peace of mind you felt in the dream. It doesn't do much against the heaviness of your heart, but somehow you know it is working. It will work. Yes, it will work now. You aren't sure what else can or needs to be said at such a consolation prize as you set the pack down at your feet. Opposite you, Estrid is struggling to look you in the eyes, looking around the camp instead. This is it then, Outlander. Dawn is not far off. We should wake the camp now, and tell any who wish to join us to prepare. She pauses, and you see that what she is saying is only just dawns on her now. It's finally time. Oh, we about to do this? We about to do this right now? We about to do this right now? That's kind of sad. I feel really... I'm gonna be honest. I'm sad for Estrid. Because she's not a bad person. And it's kind of a shitty situation. Do I blame myself a little bit for that? Yeah. Yeah, I was making the choices in this game. I blame myself a little bit for that. She didn't deserve that. But, you know... I'm like a D+ player. You know, I'm a D+ player. I do my best. The confrontation. You are as ready as you will ever be to finally confront the fiend, rallying your allies for one final fight to face your fates. Alright, let's do this. I'm scared. Such is the mood between you that you can forgive Estrid for wanting nothing more than to get it over with. Some of the Otchisko are deeply unhappy about being woken at such an early hour, but something unspoken creeps its way through the Ottiskin. They know why you are waking them. Some are even glad the time has finally come. In a short while, as many of the raiders as there are on the shore are packed into the center of the campsite. Some in the back are dotted between the tents, some have sat down on the sand. All of them have given the two of you a yard or so around the campfire, and they all look at you as if they expect you to rouse them to action, as well as from sleep. You are the one it seemingly all depends on. I do not know how to use this demon tooth, y'all. Whatever happened, happened. Whatever happened, happened. Don't get mad at me. Whatever happened, happened. As such, Estrid looks to you to start the speech. Here we are then. Let's do our best. You try to approach the moment in the friendly manner, but you know it comes across as cagey. Such are your nerves. You didn't ask for this. None of you asked for any of this. We know that. Mostly, it was brought upon you by other people's failures. Now we need your help. One final time. So many eyes and ears on you at once is not something you are used to. But the whole Ochusco pays close attention, respectfully silent and hanging on your every word. Their reaction to your introduction is understandably muted, but you catch some nods from amongst the crowd. Nonetheless, Estrid takes cue from the silence, starting up where you left off. Something has changed. This night, the Outlander receives Travia's blessing from one of the Celestial family. We think the Demon's Tooth may work now. Oh, Torkel. The Celestial family? You pick Torkel's voice out of the crowd, though it is not yet quite light enough to see more than his outline. How do you know that the blessing is real, and not just another of the fiend's tricks? You glance over at Estrid, and you immediately know that she doesn't want this story to be told. You spare her the judgment of the Ochusco, glossing over the details of her lashing out as best you can. You tell them what happened under the Alkenfelsen decided who should face the fiend. And amongst the crowd, you see some glimmer of recognition in the way Maidnir readjusts himself on his staff. Everyone else gives Estrid slightly skeptical looks as they quietly wait for the story to continue. But before they can lose too much faith, you try to rally them to the point of the meeting. Ulver will be coming too. Are there any volunteers? We head out at dawn. We head out at dawn? I'm scared. I feel like ain't nobody gonna go with us. It's probably just gonna be me. Maybe Dark Song. She flighty. She might need she flighty. Estrid can fight, but like, you know what I mean? We head out at dawn. I don't need no show of hands. I'm not dependent on Orlver. We gonna head out at dawn, y'all. We will head out at dawn. Anyone who would like to help us should prepare to go then. All throughout the crowd, you watch people looking around to see who will move first. Maitner is the first to shift forwards, pushing himself through the crowd to stand by the fire with you. This affects me as much as it affects you. It's just common decency to be there to see it through. For a short while, it seems as though no one else is going to move forward. But in the corner of your eye, you see another shadow gently push itself forward into the central ring. Darksong, clearly uncertain and rubbing her hands together nervously. She speaks quietly, and you think she has not yet quite recovered from her ordeal in the glade. I owe you, and it's the right thing to do, no matter how much I hate it. You wait a little while longer for anyone else to step forward. Torkel volunteers, as well as a couple of raiders whose names you've never had the chance to learn. A little begrudgingly, Jurge also steps forward, though he doesn't say what's on his mind as he does so. This is the last of the volunteers, and you feel the need to add something more onto this end of your speech. We can do this. We can do this. We have a chance. Trust each other. Use what it has done. Trust each other, I guess. Trust in each other. Fight together. And don't for one moment think that you're alone. And there is a chance. You could almost feel the air twist with a sudden surge of tension throughout the Ottiskin. If they didn't know or understand the stakes before, they certainly do now. You give one last nod, knowing there is very little else you can say at this point. Say your prayers and say your goodbyes. Let's finish this. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like part of the reason why I was okay with putting this game off is because, like, I feel like I'm gonna mess this up so bad. Oh my gosh. As the group you've collected together goes about their final preparations, you find yourself wishing the time away. If only you could sleep, or it was a little closer to dawn. But no, you have to wait it out, just like everyone else. You think of all the formulae you know and have learned on your way to this moment. You think about Zahir and his teachings, and everything that has happened at the academy. Why am I being so silly and goofy? Just a little. You try not to let the questions whirling violently around your mind get to you too much. Namely, can you really beat something powerful enough to turn reality into illusion at will? You prepare all the gear you have left too, and then the faintest bit of color starts to leak back into the world and the sun begins to rise. You're watching clouds crawl into the morning sky by the Ottiskin's makeshift door when Estrid finds you. She looks as tired as you feel, and you know she is thinking the same about you, as she looks you up and down. It is clear at first glance that this is not the same Estrid you met in Alsafell all those weeks ago. She seems far more complete person now, somehow. There is an air about her, as if she knows more about herself now than she did when she started. And there is a darkness about her, too. Some unspoken doom that she has yet to process. She walks to stand beside you, looking at the horizon. The sun will cross in an hour or so. I read that weird. We've both come a long way since we met, Outlander. I don't know about you, but I certainly did not expect our paths to cross quite like this. Part of me wishes we had the chance to spend more time together. I would like to have got to know you better. There's still time. There's still time. Don't be talking like this to Ian. This might not be the end of us yet. She thinks about it for a few moments before she shrugs. I cannot think that far ahead just yet. Let's try to get to the end of the day first. Quiet overtakes you both after that, giving you a moment to think while Estrid finishes making herself ready. When she has done so, she claps both of her vambraces and looks at you again. Alright. To the end then, I trust you. We can do this. I trust you. I trust you. I trust you. Don't switch up on me out there. But I trust you. And you, Outlander. I'll find who I can and meet you over by the dunes. She clearly weighs up whether she has anything more to add before clapping you once on the shoulder. With that, she trudges back into the Otterskin to gather people up. Your mind turns to Maitnir and Darksong. They may have something more to say to you too before the end, given everything that's happened. Let's talk to Maitnir. You try to find Maitnir first. You have some difficulty finding the wizened mage. You end up wandering twice around the entire Otterskin, which isn't so big as to lose someone before you find him. You're about to double check that he is not on the beach when he meanders out from between two of the tents. He looks as relieved to see you as you do him, grinning at you as he pulls a pipe from out of his mouth. There you are. I thought it might be about time. I was looking for you. I was just looking for you. Actually, I was about to start wondering where you might have gone. Oh, I'm sorry. I was enjoying one last pipe. One last look at the stars. He pockets his pipe and looks up to the night sky and the stars that are beginning to fade away above. You know, sometimes I wonder whether there is anything out there and whether we will ever know. Amongst the stars? I don't think I've ever heard anyone talk about them like that before. It is a strange thought. One day there will be nothing left to discover on this world. What then? Where do we go from there? If not somewhere else. Twitter. When we discover everything else in the world, then there's Twitter. It's not that great, I guess. You know. But I digress. Time marches on, and so must we. He smiles softly to himself as he starts padding through the sand towards the center of the Otterskin. Always more questions. There's always more questions than answers for you, aren't there? I wouldn't have it any other way. The moment you know everything, you might as well give up. Again, he grins at you, and you can't help but smile and shake your head at his almost childlike optimism. As you walk along the dim twilight, you see him tense up just a little. If I do have one regret, it's that the heart of the Alkenfelsen remains a mystery. To have been so close and not come away with it. It is a real shame. I feel like he would have died if we tried to go look at that. You could go back. You could go back when time is less pressing. It might even be easier the second time around. Maybe. I will not be able to manage it alone, that I know. It would just have been nice to come away with something, to prove there is value to my work. As it is, I will go on as I always have. Or I will die horribly in the fight today. I do wish I had more supplies we could use. They're all gone now. I used them to help save, Yasma's arm. You remember George's friend whose arm was heavily bandaged after the raid. She was not among the volunteers to hunt down the fiend, hopefully recovering from her injuries. Now you and Maitnir stand once again at the... Why they bringing up old stuff? Why they bringing up old stuff like that's my fault? Now you and Maitnir stand once again at the Otterskin's fire pit, and he turns to you to look you in the eyes. Farewell today, Outlander, and farewell overall. If this is the end of our lives in this world, perhaps we shall meet in the next. But no matter what, farewell. Farewell, I guess. Farewell, Maitnir. You pointing him. Why did it sound like we done already messed up, though? For real. You point him to where your hunting party is beginning to gather before you continue on your way. You set about looking for Darksong, and Maitnir's levity quickly fades as dawn comes even closer. You find her outside the Otterskin, right by the shore, and letting the gentle waves wash over her shoes. While you are still some distance away, she glances around to look at you before going back to watching the sea. When you're a little closer, she speaks calmly and without looking at you. Some stuff in Elvish. Um, how are you feeling? Still raw, a little humbled, very tired, and a little guilty. I haven't thanked you properly before now. And in her hand, she is playing with a small stone that she has picked up from the beach. All of a sudden, she throws it up into the air, catches it in her other hand, and launches it violently into the sea. You hear it skip, once and then twice, and then disappear into the depths. When you turn back to Darksong, she is looking out where it vanished, as if she is watching a ship sail away. It is going to take me a long time to feel as though I have a life outside of this. She taps gently on one of the scars on her neck with one hand, but quickly lets it fall again. But in the end, you are right. It is too late to change what happened. Thank you for reminding me of that. Any friend would do it. It is what any friend would do. She laughs and picks up another pebble. No, I don't think so. I think it would be easy for even the best of people to choose what's easy over what's right. This is true. Oh, what is that story? Of Mice and Men? That's what that reminds me of. I'm not going to go into a whole thing about the book because I can't stand Of Mice and Men, but that's what that reminds me of. But it was right. You were right. She chokes out a frustrated laugh and looks at the sky. You see her grimace. I would have lost myself for nothing. It would have changed nothing. With that, she launches the pebble she was been holding into the sea with the same ferocity as before. You nod and the world around you falls quiet. So this is it. Do you feel any more ready than I do? I don't really know, to be fair. Honestly, I don't know. She picks up another pebble and toys with it as you speak. The journey has been fraught since before it even began, really. For all I know, we may be about to take the easiest step. Or it might yet be harder than anything we've faced yet. I really cannot say. One more stone is skipped into the ocean, this time with less anger before. Darksong turns towards you. Well, whatever happens next, I will be there by your side, as you were there by mine. It is the least I can do. Thank you, Darksong. You think you've struck some kind of nerve when she looks self-consciously at the floor for a moment. When she looks back up at you, there is a new resolve and recognition there. Lasagna? It looked like it say lasagna, okay? My name is... Oh, that's your name? Your name Lasagna? I don't care. I'm going with lasagna. I'm going with lasagna. It looked like lasagna. Though it... Though I really don't know how much that name belongs to me anymore. There are many things you could say in response to that, but you aren't sure any of them would feel right. Instead, you give a respectable bow. I can't stop. Lasagna. Instead, you give a respectable bow of your head, and together with lasagna, you head back towards the honest. I can't read these words. Lasagna is close enough. From there, with everyone else already waiting for you, you head to the dunes. Dawn breaks with you, all gathered on the banks on the beach, with the fiend waiting for you all. You wonder whether Oliver will in fact join you, or whether, in the end, he decided to run. But no. He is the last to arrive, with nothing on his back save for his axe. He is as muted as he has been since he was ousted as hetman of the Ottersko. He simply looks to you and Estrid to lead the party on. You can start picking out clouds against the morning sky as you finally trudge into more solid ground. George's voice calls out from somewhere behind you as the party is making sure everyone makes it up to the bank safely. Do you know exactly where we'll try first? As you observe the quiet winter around you, your eyes are again drawn towards the Hallsdor Mountains. Your heart grows heavy when you look there and the hole inside you threatens to tear open. It is exactly as though the fiend is attacking, even though there is not a hint of a storm to be seen. Oh, Jesus. This way. Estrid points exactly there as you look on. Has she always had her hand out like that? Is that a new picture? The Outlander and I know this place already. The clouds only darken as you continue onwards. They hover overhead, dark and menacing as the task ahead, with little wind to move them on. None of you talk. You just march over the Thorwellian countryside, trying to keep a good pace without tiring yourselves too much. After only a couple of hours, you cross the road northwest of Alsfell. After that, you think you're able to pick out landmarks, groups of trees, the shapes of the hills. You cannot be very far from where you and the siblings marched on your way to Halvik. If anything, you are cutting across that path slightly further eastbound towards the higher peaks. You break in the early afternoon atop a hill that gives you a good view of the area. Directly north of you is the forest at the edge of which Halvik is nestled. You think you can still see it some miles off, smoke no longer rising from the long abandoned village. Then you are on your way again, still with little conversation and nerves growing steadily inside all of you. You finally pass the abandoned village in the mid-afternoon as you did the first time around. This time there are no guards, no prisoners, no sign of strange cultist activity. That's right! The very first battle in this game, there was like a weird group of... I can't remember what they called them. They had a name of them. I guess just the cultists now, I guess. All is quiet as you take the road eastwards, the highest peaks now bearing down on top of you. The path starts leading upwards over rougher terrain and goes that way for an hour more or so. Oh, not me hitting the button. I ain't finished reading the sentence. The main path continues to the east into a pass through the mountains that you are told leads to Oplog. No doubt closed by the snows now, but it doesn't matter. Your head and your heart both tell you that is not where you need to go. Your path lies to the north on a much smaller path that leads to little more than a crack in the mountainside. The weight of it feels unbearable, and all you wish to do is go running back to the beach. And that is how you know it's the way forward. One by one, you all slog up through the snow and into the gap in the craggy face of the mountains. You quickly tire of the sound of shuffling feet and steady but fatigued breathing. You tire of the brushing of the stone, and oh my god, I keep hitting the button and I don't need to. This place is far too narrow and far too quiet. The air is dry and still. You can feel yourself and those around you beginning to strain. The path leads gently upwards at first. It is an uneven road, cutting around sharp and jagged turns in the stone. The ceiling is low, and the tallest among you have to stoop under overhanging rocks at points. Dark Song, Lasagna, though tall, seems to have the easiest time of it, slinking down the path silently. You are beginning to wonder how much longer it will go on before the space suddenly opens up. It is not by much. The path may be wide enough for barely 2 people, instead of barely 1. But in comparison to the claustrophobia of before, this feels like true and complete freedom. It is not much later than that when Torkel, at the head of the party, stops short, and you all come to a halt. You hear his voice stretching back to you out of the darkness, quiet and cautious. Up ahead, I do not like the look of that light. You push yourself onto the tips of your toes to see past those in front of you, craning your neck. He's right. Maybe a few dozen yards away, a sickly pale white-green light emanates up the path towards you. We finna go down there? Even looking at you, it only worsens the dread that you've been building inside of you. If you did not know better, you could swear you hear the low, deep rumbling growl rippling across the stone. An invitation or a warning? One last chance to run. Well, no way other than forward. It isn't lost on you that Jurge says this from behind Orville's back. You're a little further up than both of them, but you know the marching order going into the mountain. You hear the question in Jurge's voice. The, well, we're waiting nature of it. Eventually the party does start forwards again. Slowly, carefully up the gentle slope, into the very heart of the mountain, towards the pale light. It is bright enough that you can see you are walking to a much wider space still. A cavern of sorts, flat green littered with rocks and boulders, the walls stretching up much higher above you. No need for torches at least, but no sign at all of where the light is emanating from. I think we're here. Be on guard, everyone. Hey, everybody, be on guard. Be on guard, y'all. As your eyes dart around the place, you feel your fingers tensing as they know you will have a need for magic. You see and hear those closest to you preparing too, looking around this strange new place with great attention. Your eyes are drawn to the strangeness of the shadows cast by the mysterious light. Some of them are clearly just rocks and boulders splashed onto the wall in the dark grays and blacks, but some shapes don't quite seem to fit what you can see in front of you. You cannot quite work out what it is that is casting them. Oh, that's weird. It's invisible stuff. It's invisible stuff. By now, the party has spread out over the width of its natural chamber, in the rocks exploring every corner of it. Still some feet away, you see a large stone boulder. It looks as though many hundreds of years ago it might have become dislodged and fallen into place. And the chamber you are in stretches around it, like it is the center of the room. You're drawn to it strangely, and to the dark markings painted on its surface. So focused are you on that you are taken completely by surprise when someone cries out behind you, "There's a body here! I found a body!" Her loud shouting rings out and catches everyone off guard. Maitner makes his way over to her, preemptively covering his nose and mouth with his sleeve. We see him ducking down slightly out of view in an alcove in the back corner of the chamber. The raider who shouted gives him plenty of space and a disgusted expression on her face as she looks away. When Maitner reappears, hopping from behind the rocks, he is also grimacing. Whoever he was, he has been here a few months at least. There is no sign of what killed him anymore, so be careful. There is soon no more of the place to be discovered. There are no other exits save the one you used to get here. There is still no sign of where the light is coming from. It seems to just sit in this place, reflecting off the stone walls and ceiling, casting its strange shadows. Doesn't that actually happen in caves, though? I can't remember what they call it, but it's like a false light, and they tell you to have to be careful if you get lost in caves and you're trying to find like daylight to get out, not to like fall for that, because there's like fake reflective lighting in caves. I don't know. I can't remember what it's called. Y'all ever watch the movie Descent? I've been trying to get people to watch the movie The Descent. If you want to watch a scary movie, watch The Descent. That movie's scary. Let's see. And then there's this boulder. You are puzzled by it. After rounding it a couple of times, you are drawn again to the face nearest the exit to the cavern. This time you are closer, and Estrid is nearby you too. She is as mesmerized by it as you are, her eyes focused on the markings on this face. She moves close enough to reach out to them and brushes her fingers over the red-brown strokes. Why are they familiar? Why do these markings feel so familiar? No answer to your question comes, and Estrid leans in even closer as she continues to examine the marks. A moment later, over the sound of your party's footsteps as they continue to look around, you hear her groan. Oh, it cannot be that simple. She turns to you, and a look of revelation in her eyes. The shields, Outlander, and Halvik, the pendant that the speaker used, you still remember it well. You still remember the markings arched around into a ring in lines and shapes that drew your eyes to them. You remember the gross feeling of discomfort they filled you with when the speaker thrust his pendant towards you. Oh, yeah, because they was doing some hoodoo stuff out there. I remember that. And as you look closer at these markings carved into the stone and then drawn over in blood, you realize you shall not know peace. That is what the speaker had spat at you. And as he had thrust his pendant towards you, a hole had been torn open in your soul. A hole that the fiend has been chewing at ever since. It was us. They woke up the fiend. It was us. Did we? Wait. Are we saying it was us, like we woke up the fiend, or they did that? Ain't got nothing to do with it. I done told these people ain't got nothing to do with it. They woke up the fiend? The words barely escape your mouth, such as the shock that hits you. They were followers of the Restless One, like in the story Brand told us. They woke up the fiend and then marked us for it when we attacked their camp. And the spell worked because we had what the fiend wanted, a discontent we hid from the world. Now you are certain you hear it. A rumbling, growing laugh from everywhere around you. And from the deepest recesses of your mind. Your skin crawls, and the hairs on your arms and in the back of your neck immediately stand on end. Okay, but why not her brother? Why was it just Estrid and why was it just them? I mean, I guess maybe he didn't have a discontent. Maybe he just, maybe he cool. You are overcome by a sudden fearful discomfort that makes your whole body tense and roil. The light pulses together and dimmer and brighter again. More weapons are unsheathed and readied as everyone sees the shadows start to move. Now you begin to step back from the stone, not taking your eyes off the ceiling. The laughter comes again, rippling over the rocks until it focuses on that central point. Everyone skitters back, their weapons and shields shaking in their hands as they resist the urge to turn and run. And you watch as it clambers up into the boulder. Oh, there it go. Y'all see it? It don't look that bad. Its eyes is crazy though. Oh no, it look like a sick cat. This cat's sick. This cat need to go to the vet. This cat need to go to the vet. Bathed in its sickly, unnatural pale light, its claws press into the rock until oh, there's a typo here. Its claws press into the rock until it cracks underneath its grip. It stands above you, as large as any beast you have ever seen, leaving sheer and utter horror in its wake. Cries ring out behind you as you see its skin and muscles slither and writhe. The deep-colored tears in its fur ripple and roils as its tendrils stretch themselves out menacingly. Yeah, menacingly. It's wild looking. The more I look at it, the more I'm like, it's got a mouth on the side. It's giving a little bit of venom, like he got venom. Well, you got eyes on the side with the mouth on the side, so you don't need the eyes in the front, but it seemed impractical to not have eyes on the front. Let's keep going. And its eyes, which stare out unblinkingly from where a saber-toothed cat's shoulder might once have been. Those otherworldly golden red eyes and the otherworldly fangs where bone should be. You do not want to see it, but neither can you look away. That hideous laughter now rings so loudly in your ears that it's deafening. And one by one, all of your defenses begin to crumble. I warned you all. Its voice is like a fire that sears through every inch of every one of you, bringing some of the raiders to their knees. Every moment of every day you spent at the academy plays across your mind in a single moment, and you try, desperately, not to be consumed by it. You should have run while you had the chance. With no further warning, the beast before you rears up and its tendrils lash out wildly. Relax, relax. One of the tendrils whips out towards you and you don't react in time to stop it. Aw, no fair. Some power in the attack cuts deep across your face, burning and freezing and petrifying all at once. Before you can cry out in pain, you are thrown bodily out of position by the force of the blow. You could barely blink before you hit the floor, sliding a few inches across the stone, before you grind to a halt. You lie there stunned as you see the creature leap off the boulder and over you and straight into your allies. Your face still feels like it's burning as you push yourself up. You clamber back to your feet and shake your head, trying to get a handle on what's happening before you. Immediately, you see it has landed on Torkel, who struggles desperately underneath it. But the fiend is currently focused on the rest of the group, swiping at them with a large muscular paw. A handful of them, including Estrid, scatter out of the way in an attempt to get around the creature. The woman who found the corpse leads and rolls into a position behind it. She keeps a good grip on her weapon and jumps up to strike its back with a ferocious cry. But you watch in horror as one of the golden eyes of the creature's shoulder snaps toward her movement. A tendril follows, shooting out around her neck and snapping it in an instant. Okay, so I'm gonna just assume that everybody gonna die, because it don't look like we gonna win this one. Without missing a beat, the tendril whips in another direction and the woman's body is thrown away. It collides with Maitnir and Jurge, who stagger back from the fiend before they get a chance to strike. If you are here to beat this creature, you know you'll have to strike with the demon's tooth. We're gonna use some magic. You know one thing is certain to give you enough time and space to get close. As quickly as you can, you cast the Orkanok formula and focus on the creature's flank with all your might. The blast of air slams into the creature's side, knocking it off the bloody Torkel and staggering it towards a wall. You hear a growl in your mind that you chose to believe is angry, yes, but more importantly, surprised. Sensing your moment, you rip the demon's tooth out of your belt and charge with all your courage. It must hear your cry, for the fiend's eyes, or where its eyes should be, turn in your direction. A tendril lashes out, aiming for the hand holding the demon's tooth. You hear a sharp hiss where the tendril meets the tooth itself, and then a roar from the creature and inside your mind. The tendril whips back again, and the fiend leaps away from you, leaving you clutching your only real weapon. It is a ward as well as a weapon, then. A good thing to know before the end. You watch as it bounds up to the boulder and leaps again, pulling itself up with its front two paws. Before anyone can prepare for a second attack, it turns and dives into the group again. While it is in the air, Maitner grips his staff in both hands and twists the end of it forwards and upwards. An invisible force, neither air nor water, hits the fiend on the side, and it is knocked off course with another growl. As it hits the floor on its flank, Torkel races forward again, dropping his axe, to grapple the fiend with both hands. His arms lock around the creature's neck as he throws his body onto the floor, trying to keep it pinned. Before you can race forward with the tooth, the fiend's tendrils all rise up and strike at him as a single mind. To Torkel's eternal credit, he holds on for as long as he can, screaming in agony as the tendrils rip through him. Damn, everybody finna die. Maitner's Maitner quickly hobbles backwards, unable to look away from the horror before his eyes. This is fucked up. You all follow suit, coming together in a loose group behind Jurge and the other raider, whose shields are both up. Estrid quickly joins them to offer yet more protection, but you don't know how much it will help. Your eyes are fixed on the fiend, which is already back on its feet. It treads over Torkel's broken body, his blood still dripping from its tendrils, and stalks towards you. Each and every one of you who remains stands resolute and ready, snatching the moment to catch your breaths. How many lives is it worth? Its voice pours into your mind, and the creature snarls. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, this is like just fighting a wild animal that we've never encountered before. I expected more magic from it, not saying that that's not gonna come later, but if we had a gun, like, he'd be done. He'd be KO'd. The golden eyes of its shoulder staring. You are half expecting it to continue speaking, but instead it lunges forward and takes you by surprise. The three shield bearers are ready for it, placing their shields perfectly to catch the fiend in the air. The fiend lands on the shields, pressing them closer to the bearers' heads as they strain under its weight. Before they could collapse, Estrid cries out, and the three of them all shove together. You hear the fiend growl as the shields start inching upwards, lifting it away from the rest of you. Its claws release the shields as it twists through the air to land back on its feet. Its tendrils lash out again and catch the last raider by the ankle before he can bring his shield back down. He screams as he hits the floor, twisting around to try and claw its way back to you before the fiend drags him away. The scream is very quickly silenced as a second tendril snakes around his neck and snaps it, and another body is thrown away. Now, chaos ensues as the rest of you all attack the fiend as once. I only got 20 left. And I can't remember what none of these magic spells. Okay, so I know the second one. I know the second one is like the blast of wind. 6, I think it's just a blind and light, and I ain't so sure that's gonna work. And I don't remember what the first one is. And he ain't got eyes on for his head. Is that even gonna work? The blind and light, is that even gonna work? But if I use this, ain't gonna have no more magic. I ain't gonna be able to do nothing. I low-key wanna use. Let's just do it. What's gonna happen? We all die? Before any of your allies can get close to the fiend, you draw all of your energy into one concentrated blast. The power of the hurricane twists around you in your hands, threatening to pull them apart, but you grit your teeth and resist. As the arcane force flies from your grasp, it overtakes the raiders running towards the fiend. As powerful as the creature is, not even it can leap out of the way as your spell hits it at full force. For the first time, you see it is affected by something you've done. It is pushed backwards, even as it hackles rise, and the muscles of its claws tense, trying to keep in place. Ulver wastes no time in leaping into the fray, swinging his axe around wildly in the hope of finally finding purchase. He doesn't. His axe Damn it, Ulver. Redeem yourself! He doesn't. His axe simply bouncing harmlessly off the creature's hide before it recoils and bats him away. Damn. You have definitely made an impact, though. All I can do is fall back. You make use of the distance you have, hoping to be joined by anyone who can make it out of the chaos alive. While it's distracted, you duck behind one of the alcoves at the back of the chamber. A moment later, Jurge clatters down next to you. His arm is bloody and blackened and clearly broken, and his buckler has been torn in half. I don't have much less. Can you still fight? He looks down at the broken arm as he scrambles to stay close to the rocks as he can, and then looks up at you. Probably not, but I've never let that stop me before. We need to be more coordinated at that, but I think it was the right idea. Your discussion is disrupted by a loud crack from the direction of the fight. Estrid hits the floor and comes rolling into view, her shield still tied to her arm but utterly destroyed. She groans and rolls onto her back, and Jurge leans out to help her push herself behind cover. She's been injured in the fight as well, and blood drips down her face from a fresh wound. A moment later, you look back up to see Olver racing back in your direction as well. He has a horrid laceration across both of his arms, but looks otherwise unharmed as he retreats. He dives into the alcove on the far side of the room from you, clutching his axe tightly as he breathes and glances over. We must buy you enough time to get close, Outlander. Our attacks must be relentless to keep it busy. No breaks in the fighting. Even as he speaks to you, you hear another strained cry. You dare to glance out from behind your cover again. You see Maidnir beat away a tendril with his staff, only for it to wrap around the wood and tear it from his hands. You see the tendril tighten and break, and tighten and squeeze, but no matter how much it moves, the staff simply will not break. Maidnir, meanwhile, is walking backwards from the creature, making rapid hand gestures. A jet of water leaps from his hand. This man throwing water balloons. He throwing water balloons. A jet of water leaps from his hands and through the air, hitting the fiend square in the face. As the fiend howls, Maidnir holds his arms outstretched. Are we gonna do something while this is all going on? Outstretched, and his staff flies back into his hands as he reaches you. That is everyone who is left, except Lasagna. Straight away, you begin to worry, and you eke further out from behind your rock to look for her. You don't see her in the time you have to look, but you don't see her body either. Here's the plan. When I shout your name, you must charge and give this creature everything you have. Outlander. With every attack, you must get as close as... With every attack, you must get as close as you can, but try to stay hidden. George blanches and stops speaking as a mighty roar comes from behind you, and you feel the fear coming again. You hope that the sound of Lasagna keeping the fiend frustrated long enough for George to even speak. Estrid, you must make sure the Outlander gets there. You are the last line of defense. With that, you know it, just like real life don't depend on me. You don't depend on me, real life don't depend on me. With that, he takes a deep breath in and repositions himself, gritting his teeth and balling his eyes against the pain. Maidnir. Right on cue, you hear Maidnir let out a loud battle cry and watch as he pushes himself out from behind cover. Across the chamber, the fiend stands ready and waiting for him, roaring in response to Maidnir's cry. Maidnir's let his staff fall and collects both of his hands close to his chest. Water starts collecting in the space between his hands as if it is being drawn out the very air around him. It spins into a spear, always in motion and getting faster and faster with every moment. The fiend leaps up to pounce on the top of the mage, and he thrusts his arms forwards with another cry. The spear of water flies like an arrow towards the creature, hitting it like a tidal wave and throwing it backwards. The fiend slams into the center boulder, drenched throughout as it hits the floor with a heavy thump. Maidnir has already pulled his staff back into his hand and now wields it like a combat staff. He twists each end of the staff forwards and upwards in turn, gritting his teeth as he strikes. On the other end of the magical force, the blows repeatedly slam the creature into the boulder. Are we gonna do something? Maidnir is being the MVP right now, but I'm getting worried that he's gonna get... You know what I'm saying? It's back, its head, and then it's back again. It lets out an angry but soft growl as Maidnir sinks to his knees, finally spent and using the staff to lighten his fall. You two, go! You hear Jurt shout behind you, and suddenly remember you are supposed to be using the opportunity to move. Moving to cover stealthily. You slink out from behind your rock and move all the way around it to press yourself against the cavern wall. Only then do you move forwards, trying to stay as quiet and out of the way as possibly can. At the next corner between the wall and another boulder, you press yourself into the space to disappear from view. A moment later, Estrid joins you, looking carefully around for another opportunity to move forwards. Orlver, now! You race to the next rock that you can see crouching down behind it as best you can. From your position, the pale glow of the fiend, you see Orville peeking out from his alcove. You glance over the rock and see the fiend pushing itself back to its feet after Maidnir's water strike. Orlver! George's furious cry rings across the cavern. Orlver doesn't move, staring the fiend down as his hands tighten around the axe. He glances at you and Estrid. He glances at George, who shouts at him again. Orlver, move! Orlver looks back at the fiend, and now fully back on its feet and snarling, and then looks at the ceiling. Much to your relief, he pushes himself out from the alcove, stepping in front of Maidnir and starting forwards. The fiend snarls and growls, and in your mind you hear that rolling chuckle again. Come on then, creature, end this. The fiend bares his teeth, puts all of its weight on its front paws, and leaps high into the air. Orville's axe clatters to the floor as he lifts his hand to protect his face. As the fiend lands on top of him, he catches his saber-toothed jaw in his hands. Its tendrils lash out at him, wrapping around his arm, striking his face. He screams in pain but doesn't let go, simply pulling sharply to try and twist the fiend's head around. You recognize now is your chance to move once again, where Oliver is in serious trouble, and if he is killed now, you may never get your chance at all. Stay hidden as you move, distract the fiend. Okay. Orville is in serious trouble, and if he is killed now, you may never get your chance at all. I feel like that means I have to distract him? No. No. Wait. Okay. Let me think about this. Let me have some water. Where are we moving to? Like, he's holding the fiend. Why can't we move? Like, that's what I don't understand. What are we moving to? I feel like we're taking a long time. Stay hidden as we move? No, you know the plan, and as much as it pains you, you simply cannot risk making things worse. You clench your teeth and stick to the side of your cavern as you make another few steps into a better position. Estrid follows along behind you, still wiping blood from her eyes as she collapses down next to you. The fiend is now fully on top of Oliver, who is struggling underneath it. One hand still on the fiend's remaining saber tooth, he is using the other to throw hard punches at its underbelly. With a loud cry, George now enters the fray. While the fiend is focused on Oliver, he races up and slams into the creature's side with the remains of his buckler. It shifts enough for Oliver to get a good grip on the inside of its front legs. In unison, they heave before the fiend can stop them. They have shoved it onto its side. Split up, Estrid. Stay close, Estrid. Split up? Why would Estrid need to stay close to us? Split up? Go that way, Estrid. I'll approach from here. Estrid takes a deep breath and and shakes her head, pushing herself over the other side of the cavern. She tumbles to the ground quickly and scrambles to put herself behind cover before she can be seen. In the brawl, the fiend's tendrils are waving wildly as its golden eyes flick about. It lashes out at the raiders, striking over in the chest and wrapping around George's shield arm. You hear a loud crack and scream as the bone snaps, but the fiend does not stop there. A third tendril lashes out at the remains of his buckler and smashes into it, sending winning shards everywhere. The fiend roars as it sends a powerful claw at Oliver's cheek, scratching across the entire width of his face. But both raiders throw themselves savagely at the creature, keeping it pressed to the floor in a pin. George looks around, trying to find you as he presses his weight down. Now, as soon as just a silver of his throat is unprotected, a tendril whips across it violently. George's shout is cut short as he chokes, bringing up a hand to his neck. You already see blood welling up out of the wound and watch in horror as George's eyes go blank. Without George's weight to press it down, the fiend starts to wriggle out beneath. Or what are we doing? We're just running around. Like, how big is this cave? I'm so confused. George's body collapses lifelessly to the floor, and the fiend manages to get back onto its hind legs. The tendrils immediately lash back at Oliver, who cries out in pain as one strikes him in the face. He growls and kicks at the back legs of the creature to keep it down, trying to wrestle himself on top of it. The fiend sends his tendrils straight up at Oliver again, who barely gets his hand up in time to protect his neck. You glance over at Estrid and see that she is also looking at you. You see in her eyes the same acceptance you feel, the knowledge that your time is up. She nods just one simple nod in your direction before the last desperate push. Nod back. You nod back at the same time, the same simple nod of understanding as you ready yourself for the attack. With that, you bring together all the energy you have left and push yourself up to the step out from behind the rock. It's clear that Oliver does not have much left in him. As you watch, the fiend is able to wriggle out from underneath his grip and swipe a powerful claw at him. As he collapses over, it leaps on top of him, knocking him into his back and pinning him under its weight. Before he can be mauled from behind, Oliver strikes upward, punching the fiend below the chin. As it falters, he rolls around and reaches for its flank, trying desperately to throw the creature off of him. To no avail. With no signs of tiring, the fiend barely budges and finally sinks his teeth into Oliver's neck. What are we doing? At this very moment, what are we doing? We're nodding at each other across the room. Oh my god. And I get that, like, you're having to, like, describe things that are happening, but the way that it's being described seems like actions are happening while we're literally just walking around the side of the room. And it's, like, it's distressing to me, because it's like, oh no, I have to be in secret, and it's like, they had it pinned down, so what were we doing? What were we doing while they had it? You literally had two people that had it pinned down. Oh my god. He struggles as much as he can for as long as he can, but it's too late. After a few moments, his body goes limp. It all creates just enough time for Esther to be able to take over the fight. She swerves towards the fiend, hopping left, right, and left again to avoid the demonic tendrils. As she approaches, she leaps up and hurls the broken remains of her shield towards the fiend's eyes. The fiend growls and tries to catch her with the tendril, but she snatches it out of the air before it can strike her face. Like, we're one-on-one fighting this thing at this point. That's what doesn't make sense. We went in as a group and then took turns fighting it. Then she's there, kicking down into its shoulders and grabbing it at its head before she hits the floor. She curls herself into a ball, shifting her weight and protecting her neck while she clings to the fiend's underside. I mean, there's no point, because we're literally just gonna stand on the opposite side of the room and wait till you're dead, and then, like, I don't understand the point of everyone even going through any of this. You have nothing left to do but chase after with the demon's tooth in hand and hope that all this is worth it. You race forward, the demon's tooth raised, and watch as the fiend tries to push itself free. You are certain the fiend is going to rip Estrid apart before you can get there, but you stop short as you hear a sharp, dissonant whistle from above your head. You turn to find... Why? You turn to find the source, looking on top of the boulder, and see nothing. And you hear a loud thud as the fiend's head is driven straight into the stone by some invisible force. A surprised hiss escapes its mouth as it tries to pick itself up, but the same invisible force hits it again. Oh, lasagna? It sends most of its visible tendrils flying through the air in front of it, hoping to catch whatever it is attacking, and you hear an amused, almost cruel laugh as right before your eyes, lasagna appears from nowhere. The tendrils are wrapped around her arms, and her face has a bloody cut from her eyebrow to her mouth. She murks as she fades back into view, blood dripping to the floor, and the fiend growls angrily at her. Do you think this is pain? Lasagna said. You know, because she been that girl. Gritting her teeth, she clasps the tendrils in her hands and pulls herself forward as she jumps. She twists herself around mid-flight, pulling the tendrils across each other. She lands on the creature's back, pulling them into its neck as she slides off to the side. The fiend has no choice but to follow the course of its own body, collapsing down, following Lasagna's cue. She ends her maneuver by using her trapped leg to drag herself closer to the fiend. Finally, she pulls her tied arms up as much as she can, locking the fiend in place. Help me, Estrid. I can't hold this for long. Estrid dives forward, jumping on top of the fiend's lower back and digging her knees in to trap it. You practically fall on top of them to get close enough to strike with the tooth. You're inches away from striking when a tendril withers free of Lasagna's grip and wraps around your neck. Your eyes are widened and you brace yourself for death, but the tendril yanks you closer without snapping your neck. As you are dragged across the floor, you come to stop right up close to one of the fiend's terrible golden eyes. There is a we ain't worried about this no more. We ain't worried about this. It's like being worried about high school. That's what this is. Like that embarrassing moment in high school you just can't let go of. That's what this reminds me of. There is a bright white flash, and suddenly the world goes quiet, except for the slight ringing in your ears. You blink back your surprise, looking at the stonework and greenery around you. Here again, feeling as though you have awoken from a truly horrible dream. As though this is what's real. Because it was real. But there is a presence here with you this time, leeching off the pain, enjoying every moment you sit in these gardens and remember just how hurt you were to be abandoned. This again. Yeah, because this is annoying. You don't have the energy left anymore to draw emotion into your voice. It is cracked and tired, broken. I knew he was going to do some mess like this too. How many times must you show me this? Next to you, you feel the figment turn its head and observe you for a long moment before speaking. It is your life. Try as you might to deny it, I did not start this struggle of yours. 4 words come to your mind, 4 very familiar words. There is no escape. There is no escape. Already your body begins to crawl at the deeper, more powerful layer of speech that lies behind Zahir's voice. Tell me, Nadim, what is it worth to kill me? It will not make this any less real. With or without me, you will always suffer. Okay, let's be real. Getting kicked out of magic school is nothing comparable to having to fight this cat demon. It's not comparable. Like, she was going on an adventure. She still got magic powers. She just didn't graduate. She just didn't graduate school. Like, you think if she had a choice, like, come on. Like, I'm gonna kill you, bro. Like, I'm not gonna be sad about school and just, like, let the fiend kill me. No. What? No. With or without me, you will always suffer. And this is not comparable. It's not comparable. And already others have suffered too for the choice you made to fight. Just stop. Just give in. Just accept it. This is how you know he's losing. Your hand tightens into a fist on your lap, and only now do you feel the dry cold of the demon's tooth. You daren't look down to make certain it is the tooth, and nor do you know whether the fiend senses its presence. But as the fiend does what it has always done, you feel the cold, calming peace of mind given to you by Travia's herald. It makes the fiend's words ring differently than they would without that protection. Yes, you are angry at the Pentagram Academy abandoned you when you didn't live up to their expectations. You felt lost and alone and feared you might never find that guidance, particularly when the Ranjutsko turned you away as well. And you blame yourself for failing so often and for so long. But all of that blinded you to another equally real and important truth. It was not the only way to move forwards. I'll find a new way. You're wrong. I trust myself. I trust myself now. I trust myself now. There's tingling in your fingers where your fingers touch the talisman. It is not just a peace of mind now, but a combative confidence. It spreads subtly at first and then growing bigger and bigger inside of you. And that confidence rings in your words as you look straight ahead into the bright gardens of the academy. I trust myself far more now than when I left Roshdol. And a lot of that is down to you. Because all I have done in the time I've spent hunting you down, I know what I'm capable of now. You find yourself nodding your grip on the demon's tooth so tight that your hand is beginning to ache. I know I can come back from this, and I know I can destroy you. Are we finna use the demon's tooth? Before you lose your will, you throw yourself around to strike the figment fiend in the chest with the tooth. And the moment you strike, there is a deafening roar that bombards you from every direction. You feel a rush as the fiend tries to pull the remaining life force from you in the moments before you could free yourself. You grit your teeth and hold on for as long as you can, and the world around you begins to shift and crack. The figment in front of you vanishes from sight, and you fall onto the bench and then onto the floor. The stonework around you crumbles. The very roots of the plants and trees shake as the fiend is ripped out of its own illusion. From around your neck, you feel pressure vanish that you weren't even aware of. And your eyes flash open and you return to the real world, breathing in deeply before you run out of air. Next to you, the fiend rides as it tries to escape in time. No, you finna get stabbed. You give it no such opportunity. With every ounce of life and feeling you have left, you lift your arm to strike with the demon's tooth. It strikes the monster right in its golden eyes, sinking deep into the flesh, sending ooze spraying across at you. Ooh! Oh, look at that! Look at that! Inside your head and across the chamber, you hear a roar and scream of absolute and undeniable agony. But certainly not what is this word? But certainly not uninviable. What does that mean? You strike again and again and again as the creature struggles beneath you, buoyed by every blow you deliver. Keep stabbing him. Don't stop stabbing him. Next to you, the creature's tendril releases Estrid, and you hear her grasp as her eyes open wide. Lasagna too finally lets the tendrils fall from her hands, and they immediately loosen their grip on her arms. She clatters backwards as you continue to strike, making absolutely certain the creature is dead. Only when the creature lies still do you finally push yourself backwards, the demon's tooth falling from your hand. No. I don't want to be able to recognize the demon body. Like, it should just be blood and, like, mushy stuff on the floor. That's it. In your mind, there are echoes of that final death rattle, the roar that has haunted you ever since that night at the Hetman's feast in Alsfell. But the only sound in the chamber you hear is your own heavy breathing. The pale, sickly glow fades, and you left in the darkness. You almost throw up as some of the creature's bile drips onto your tongue. Yeah. You spit it out and wipe it away from your mouth, your eyes never leaving the hulk of that saber-toothed cat. It's over. Only now do you become truly aware of the other people still conscious or alive in the room with you. Your eyes flick over to Estrid, whose outline collapses back against the boulder the fiend first sprung from. When all is said and done, it is only Lasagna who is left standing amidst the chaos. She too breathes heavily, but says nothing as she pulls off her ruined gloves to look at the fresh wounds on her arms. You simply cannot bring yourself to speak. It is over. You can already feel a weight has been lifted out of your body. The hole is still there. You recognize that too. The fiend never put it there to begin with, but it's no longer gnawing at the ever-present wound. That maybe, just maybe, it will be allowed to heal. If you let it. Chapter: Departure. Slowly but surely, you are able to pick yourself up. The first task, horrid as it is trying to account for who survived the encounter. Everybody did. Maitner, whose power let you get even close to the fiend in the first place, is unconscious but alive. You wake him on the second attempt, and the first thing he asks is if his distraction worked. Lasagna, of course, who says she is fine, though you cannot quite believe it for the big bloody wounds on her arms. Oliver was not so lucky. He lies still where he fell against the fiend. I took a look of peace on his face that makes him look far younger than when you met him. Maitner is the one to close his eyes. The moment leaves all of you with a strange sense of sorrow. Was he doomed? Was this some kind of redemption? Questions for another time. I mean, we would have loved to see him redeem himself, but at the same time, like, he ain't want to be saved. You can't save him. He ain't want to be safe. He ain't want to be safe. That's it. George and Torkel, both raiders whose names you never learned, they died so that you may have a chance of life. That is a strange and uncomfortable feeling. A life for a life for your life. You're grateful, yes, but you also wish it had not come to that. You don't know what you would need to carry. You don't have what you would need to carry them back to the camp. There are too few of you left. Estrid does what she can to deface the symbol left on the fiend's resting place with her sword. She tries to carve the markings of Swafnir and Travia over the top of it. All the bodies are lined up and put to rest, given their weapons and armor. All except the fiend's. Estrid takes a trophy from that just to prove it's actually dead. And then it's dragged through the narrow tunnels of the mountains to the outside world and burned. And all who remain hope and pray that you will never see the likes of it on this world again. You are surprised to find it is still light outside. The clouds have cleared, and the red sun is dipping towards the distant western horizon. It is still cold, even colder than before, perhaps. But the world feels lighter now. You find yourself wishing that you could enjoy it more. Perhaps it hasn't hit you yet that this is all actually finally over. It is the same for everyone. No one speaks at all. No breaks are taken. You all just march backwards towards the beach, trying to keep at bay most of what you experienced in that mountain. Night has long since fallen when you finally trudge back onto the beach. A couple of raiders are posted at the open Oscar's door, and they see you coming. They are surprised to see you, to say the least, running to meet you before you get to the camp. They can't believe you are actually alive. Relieved, they escort you back towards the Ottiskin. By then, you see that everyone has been waiting up for your return. Gunnar heads to the group. Oh, I forgot about Gunnar. Gunnar heads to the group. Why he ain't come fight with us? Why Gunnar ain't come fight with us? He ain't go with oh. I guess he had to stay back and run things. Gunnar heads up the group, his arms lightly folded as he looks around to see who made it back. His face falls when he sees that Olver is not among you. Not one other person asks or even seems to notice, but Gunnar is stricken with both grief and anger, mourning a man that you never really knew. Torkel, George, and the others all receive prayers from the crew. George's friend who fought Estrid when the two of them tested you, Yasma, Maitner called her, is heartbroken. It is only after the dead have been respected does the focus shift to the living. No one is happy, but you are congratulated. A great victory, they call it. The gods and your families will be proud, they tell you. It goes on for some time before the crowd finally begins to thin out. Eventually, it is just Gunnar who stands with you all by the now roaring campfire. Piece by piece, person by person, you take him through the exact details of the fight. You all struggle at points, but Gunnar is patient with you. When the story is done, he stands in silence for a long moment before he finally responds. I wish I knew what to say. I wish Olver had returned with you. I know how most of you feel, but I will miss him. I wish you had known the man he used to be. It's strange. We have spent many weeks focused on this one task. Now it is over. I cannot even begin to think about what comes next. I will wait until morning, and then we will strike the Ottiskin and go back to the Keen Wolf. I think it is time we leave the shore behind us. I suppose this is where we leave you. It is not very far from here to Alsfell. With good speed, I may even sleep under my own roof this evening. Gunnar looks from her to you and back again as he scratches his beard. He seems to think for a long moment before he sighs and shrugs and looks at you both again. A lot has changed since first you two came aboard the Keen Wolf. The Ottisco took a long while to trust you both, but with this behind you, they likely do now. You can stay if you like. We certainly have space now, if you wish to come with us. The offer stuns you slightly. It hardly registers, so numb are you from all that has happened. But you look at Maitner and he seems slightly buoyed by the idea. You have to think for a few moments before you can give your answer. I have to make peace. I need to go on my own. Alright. I have to make peace? What does that mean? Part of you, at least, is tempted by the idea of a life adventure after all of this is over. But quite clearly in your mind now, you know what you have to do next. No, I need to return to Rochdal now. It's time for me to stand up for myself properly. You receive a chorus of understanding and nods from both Maitner and Gunnar. But attention quickly turns to Estrid. She seems genuinely torn on the idea. She avoids looking at any of you until she has made her decision. But a sadness overcomes her as she continues to think, and eventually she sighs a long, morose sigh. I don't want to go home. At least I don't want to stay there. Whatever happened under the Alkenfeskin marked me in a way that I know is going to come back. Sooner or later. I can't be an Alsfell leading the people when that happens. At least you have already sailed with the doomed once. If you are truly happy to have me, Gunnar, then I will take you up on your offer. Gunnar looks just a little worried about that. He tilts his head as he replies. Try not to repeat Olver's mistakes too readily. It's a shame, Outlander, but your decision will be respected. Perhaps we will meet again regardless. It is a small world and quickly traveled in the grand scheme of things. Maitner next turns to Lasagna, who has stood quietly by the fire for some time, listening to all of this. What will you do now? She stares into the fire for a few moments before her eyes flick to you. I have another fight coming for me. Despite her words, she is wearing a real, genuine smile. I will probably leave Thorwald, so I don't bring bad luck on any further Ottiscos. The Thorwallers among you all laugh at that, and you smirk as well. Now, her face smiles, and she thinks for a moment before answering the question. Whatever the case, I need to put as much distance between me and Nostria as I can. When the past catches up with me, because it will, I would like to be ready for it. All the best. Lasagna nods her thanks. Estrid turns to you and breathes in deeply. Let's begin our journey now, Outlander. We are about to have a very uncomfortable conversation with my father. You say your goodbyes properly now that it is all over. Every member of the group with which you have been through so much together wishes you good fortune. I just realized I have like 1 health and no magic. Fiend, fuck me up. The Thorwaller all say they will see you again in the eternal fight. The last person to say goodbye to you is Gunnar. He shakes your hand and manages a wry smile. Goodbye, Outlander. All the best on your path. Don't go causing too much trouble. Bye. Farewell, Gunnar. All the best to you and the entire Ottisco. Then, it is finally time. You must reach Alsfell in the early hours of the morning. Truly, it is a sight for sore eyes. And sore your eyes are by the time you reach the palisade. Sore and in desperate need of sleep. But, true to your word, you accompany Estrid through the town on her way to Ulfger's Hall. Such is the time that the streets are completely empty. Inside the longhouse is still bright and warm, but with the winter now truly upon them, even the Thorwaller are careful to stay inside at this hour now. There were a few moments I was not sure I'd ever see this place again. Nothing has changed. That's good. That's good, I think. At least there has been no trouble here while we have been away. Yes, it is good for them. It is more than I should ask, Outlander, but I will. I'd like you to be there with me when I tell my father of my decision to leave. He may well think me mad. Perhaps you can stand as a witness to my lucidity. I will understand if you choose to say no, though. Of course I will. Of course I will. We have been through some shit. You don't be scared of your daddy? I done fought the fiend. You think I'm gonna be scared of your daddy? With a grateful smile, she puts a hand on your shoulder and grips it tightly. The two of you speak very little after that, and only about minor things when you do. The truth is, you are both focused on the last few steps before you call this whole business over. The Hetman's Hall is not as busy as you last saw it, but still fairly loud given the time. You are not entirely sure what reception you expected, but it certainly wasn't the one you received. Opening the doors at first, you receive no reaction at all. People keep drinking, chatting, milling around you as if they have not yet noticed who has come through the door. Wolfgar sits at the head table, deep in discussion with others sat around him. Rasker sits next to him, laughing at the joke of someone else at the table, a cup of mead in hand. And not far away, the goatee, Brand, sits alone and silently, carefully observing the proceedings. It's him that sees you first, squinting at you with his hooded eyes as you both approach. They have returned! His voice carries over the hall, bringing it slowly to silence. Rasker chokes on his drink and finally notices his sister walking towards him. By the gods, you did it. Yes, brother, we did. My child. No one could stop the Hetman from racing down from the table to embrace his daughter. You did it. You actually did it. The fiend of the Restless One is dead. Yes, father, the fiend is dead. For a long moment, Ulfgar simply looks at her. Then, with a smile, he gives her another long and loving hug. Oh, how I have missed you. We have all missed you. I am happy beyond belief that you have returned. The room breaks into a round of applause and bangs on the table, while the two of them embrace again. Come, sit down, both of you. You must tell us all the tale. And what a tale it is. You let Estrid do most of the talking, and the crowd gathers and listens as if she is retelling one of the great stories of old. But perhaps the most attentive listener of all is Bran. He consistently stops the story to ask questions and muse about the nature of the demonid. The only detail missing is, once again, what exactly happened beneath the Alkenfelsen. That remains a tightly guarded secret between you and Estrid. Otherwise, it is all recounted almost blow for blow. You are sure the sun must be close to rising again when the tale is through. Well, that is a tale if I have ever heard one. Words. Ulfgar immediately turns to you, leaning across the table to grip you on the shoulder. I must thank you, Outlander. Really, thank you. I am deeply in your debt for your help. Without it, who knows what might have happened. Rasker laughs and takes a swig of his ale. It sounds as though Estrid might have been killed. It is not a laughing matter, Rasker. Not anymore. May I ask what you will do now, Outlander? You are most welcome to stay as my guest for as long as you wish. Actually, Father, there is another matter we must discuss first, perhaps without such a crowd. As promised, you stand by Estrid's side while she tells her family about the decision to leave Alphasfell behind. As promised, it does not go well. At first, both her father and brother seem to think it is some kind of joke. Estrid has to repeat herself twice before her father begins to understand. And even then, Rasker looks as though he cannot quite believe what he is hearing. What of being Hetwoman, Estrid? That is all you have ever worked for. I'm just not ready, Rasker. Estrid stays calm and collected as she tries to explain it. Perhaps when I'm older, I will think differently, but now I am just looking for something else in my life. While they speak, Ulfgar turns to you, stroking his beard as if he is deep in thought. What if you say of this, Outlander? This journey changed me. This journey changed me too, Hetman. Before it began, I would never have returned to Roshdal. But that is where I will go now. I know I must. I am not saying goodbye forever, Father. If I feel ready, really ready to leave, then perhaps I will return. If you survive that long. Estrid begins to make a face at her brother's words, but Ulfgar quickly stops her. No, Estrid, your brother is right. You are risking everything I taught you for this. And that is my risk, Father. This isn't a decision. My mind won't be changed. This isn't a discussion. I know what I need to do for me. Nearby, you see Rasker shake his head as he stands up out of his chair and stretches. Estrid looks disappointed as he watches him walk away out of the door behind you all, but she quickly turns back to her father, who still looks shocked and despondent. Trust me, Father, I need to do this, just as much as I need to deal with the fiend. The Hetman looks at her for a long moment before he seems to accept it and sigh. She hugs him then and promises that she will take care of herself. My nose is getting stuffy. I don't know why when I talk a whole lot, my nose gets stuffy. It's weird. Alright. They look at each other for a long moment before he rolls his eyes and seems to accept the situation. Fine. Go before I get into my head to try to stop you. And visit. You'll always have a home here, even if you decide to change your mind again. Wish Rasker all the best with his candidacy for me, and say goodbye to him too. She keeps a tight grip on his shoulder a moment longer before she bows her head to him respectfully, and they separate. Ulfgar gives you the room after that, disappearing through the same door as Rasker before him. Are you sure I cannot convince you to come with me? Positive, I have my own path to take. Well then, this is where we part ways for now. Though I hope it isn't the last time we see each other. Let's see. Goodbye, my friend. All the very best to you. And to you. Never forget that you have friends in Thorwall. Will certainly remember you. With that, she stands at her full height and salutes you with the fist on her heart. With one last look around her home, she collects her things and heads back for the door. Walking past, she nods and smiles at you one last time. A whole new adventure to begin. Oh, that's the end! Yay! Lead writer Lorraine! Oh, wow. I almost cried there for a little bit. That was a good story. I'm definitely gonna suggest this one. I know some role players that would probably super like this game. But I thoroughly enjoyed this. I love great storytelling. I love like high fantasy type stuff. I like the female leads in this. You know, I struggle with a lot of the names. I struggle with a lot of the reading, but that's okay. That's okay. That be happening sometimes. Alright, just finished watching through all the credits. Yeah, I saw there was a DLC. I don't know if I would, if I'm gonna play that. If I do, it'll be on stream. Some of my longer games, I'm probably just gonna start streaming and doing one-off series on YouTube. But I've already peeped that there was a DLC. I've already peeped it. I don't know when I'm gonna get to it because right now I'm working on finishing a ton of unfinished games. But this one is definitely high on my list, and I'm probably gonna recommend around because there's some people that I don't think know about this and would really enjoy it. But if you enjoyed this playthrough, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe if you're new here, share with your friends and family, not just my gameplay, but this game. And as always, thank you for stopping by. Bye. Bye.